Pay your people better. March 27th, 2026. Let's get you in here. I moved my pot holders. I need the plug. Plugging it in, even if it doesn't get a charge, helps to balance. Because the general instability of, like, I'm using the last inch of the bottom of this phone in order to record. And this recording is specifically a test. So something that I have fully 100% recognized while being here is that my cell phone's 5G is crap in this building. But the 4G is pretty solid. I'm still going to try to move away from it once I get the money from next month, and then go into the AT&T thing and all that kind of crap, and the Lifeline phone service and all that shit. But the main thing about this test is I'm going to try to plug, or rather, I was looking at the plug. I'm going to try to upload this video using 4G and see how long that takes. Because whenever I do a speed test on my hotspot, right, not on the phone, on the hotspot. Now I could do it on the phone too, just to verify. But the hotspot's a really good indicator of how good the phone is running. Quite literally, all I did, like not even 10 minutes ago maybe, I did a speed test while I was still on 4G, because I figured this out like last night. And then I was like running through fucking YouTube shorts and shit, and then it was like 6 o'clock and I forgot. And then also I had like the pest control come in here because it was just a thing that they were going to do on their own. And then they checked and they were like, well, looks like you don't have any problems. We should at least spray here just in case. I'm like, all right, whatever. And it doesn't smell bad or anything. Like it's been a couple hours anyway. And so I didn't get much sleep, and then I slept significantly more afterwards. Like my whole schedule's been fucked up because of daylight savings. But anyway, so last night is when I figured it out, and I was like, okay, let's switch it and see what happens. And I was just getting better and better results the whole time. And so recently I did a speed test, basically to kind of show my online friends about the situation. And like one speed test, like I did the one speed test on 4G, and it was reasonable. It wasn't great. It's not like I'm getting, 1,000 megabits a second or anything like that, but like it's still functional. Like I can work off of 30 for the most part. And then now like streaming and stuff is a little different, although I'm considering some streaming with the 4G just to see how different it is. I know that will be more intensive, because not only will I need to stream via the computer, so all that data will have to go through the phone to do the upload, but I also use the phone to monitor Twitch chat, even though nobody's there. But I use it to like test the stability and, if you will, the success of the stream itself, of just the technical aspects of the success of the stream. This is my breakfast. Basically, I'm gonna make me a little shake. I need to move some shit. I did all this cleaning because I knew somebody was coming in tomorrow, which was today. And so I wanted to make sure I could get all my shit clean. And part of it was also I finally had some goddamn water pressure to do the cleaning. Because it's funny, because like my therapist was like asking me, do you need water pressure to clean? And I'm like, yeah. Especially when it was like just dribbling like an 80-year-old with an inflamed prostate. And I'm just like, I didn't really have all that to say to him, because because at one point we ended up going into this like whole argument about like manosphere and stuff, and like I said in yesterday's video, which, holy shit, there was a lot of data that I had to put in there in that top comment. I can't pin comments on that account because they want me to use my they want me to verify with my face, with like a driver's license, and I'm like, bitch, I'm in the video. Whatever. you know, I'm sure in their, you know, mind, they'd be like, well, you could just be uploading somebody else's videos with this exact, you know, and just, whatever. I'm not going to deal with it right now. But, let's see, what am I feeling like strawberries today. Even though they'll be quite chunky. I have learned that because these fuckers are so heavy, that I can't just go crazy dumping them in here like I used to. Because they're all so very iced up. And this will be the last one. Yep. 200 grams of strawberries. Is that a lot compared to everything else I'm putting in it? Not really. But it's decent enough. And it is a very filling experience. Like, the whole thing is very filling, so I don't have to worry too much about, you know, everything else. One might say, well, why don't you put, like, something with more fiber in it, or, you know, maybe some chia seeds, or... No. I'm not doing that shit. Chia seeds are ass. I don't do chia seeds. Quinoa is ass. I don't do quinoa either. Put a little heavy cream in there just for a little bit extra fat. I don't have any more pizza dough, so I gotta get that taken care of. Which means more bread dough to be made. I may even make it while I'm doing this video. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to upload. But yeah, when I did the test earlier, just to kind of showcase my friends, my upload speed, and this is the big issue with the 5G here. My 5G download can sometimes be pretty fucking awesome. I've gotten close to 100 megabits a second for the hotspot, not here. I think I've gotten over that. I've gotten, I think, like 130 at one point on the phone. And so the sheer fact that my download is amazing, my upload is atrocious. The first test I did, I got a 3.5 megabit per second. I think it was megabit. I may change it. I think I change it to megabytes because you can do that. I think you can do that on speed test. I might be wrong. But that doesn't matter. What matters is, it's like, okay, that's actually a pretty high number, the 3.5 megabit or megabyte for that matter. So then I was like, let's do another test to see if this is a little closer to my experiences. I did another one. It was like 400 kilobits per second. I'm like, that's the one I know. That's the one that I see every fucking time I check it out. Every time I see, you know, every time I have any kind of speed problems, etc., that's the one that I'm seeking. And I have regular speed problems, especially when I'm trying to upload a video, which is kind of annoying. Because I like doing these videos. They're largely effortless. And I'm sure the quality shows. But I don't care. Because it's mine and I'm going to do it my way. Obviously, the two most healthy things that I put in here are the Greek yogurt, but it's full fat because the low fat tastes like shit. I've had, like, the zero fat tastes like ass. It tastes like fucking feet. The low fat tastes better than that, but it's starting to have more of that feet taste. And these things that I'm adding, you know, the milk and the sour cream and the heavy cream do help to mitigate it. It is noticeable. The low fat one, it just doesn't seem to mitigate it enough. And it's like, at that point, I might as well just get the full fat because I'm like, it's getting to a point where I'm actually adding too much fat to compensate for it. And so, like, this is the lower fat option that I'm doing right here. I used to toss out the liquid because I was a dummy. It's whey. It's protein. It's literal. It's protein water. I don't know what the hell I was doing. Whatever. I'm sure it's a habit picked up by like parents and the way that they did shit. Because that's often how we do things in life. We often do things, and I'm doing, what is it, 3/4 of a cup, the 170. Because I think I have enough for one more, and then maybe like, I don't know, something else on the side. But, you know, I could put it into a baked good or something. Like cookies. You know, you could use, like I could make cookies again if I wanted to. And then, instead of using heavy cream or sour cream, I could use, because I use one of those too when baking the cookies that I make. I'm using Claire Saffetz's recipe. I think I make slight adjustments because I don't really have like dark chocolate to chop up, and so I'm just using dark or milk chocolate for that. So I just use the store-bought, you know, chips, store brand chips. It works, and when I share them, people like them. So, win-win. Win-win-win, really. Because win number one is cheap. Win number two, there's no effort in measuring it out, in, you know, preparing it or anything. Sure, the chunks and all that stuff are great, and, you know, the chocolate dust going into the dough and all that stuff's great too. However, and this is important to me, I don't want to do all that shit. Especially because those things, while they are nice experiences, you know, creating that heterogeneity, I ain't got the time and the money for that shit. I just don't. Nom 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 sour cream. Straight out the container. Because why wouldn't I? Alright. Water pressure is on the lower side now. Took a shower last night. Water pressure was still shit. It wasn't like super low. I've had it to where like literally the top couple of like spritzer holes just won't blow out any water whatsoever. Those are the shit days. I'm gonna throw in some more strawberries. Fuck it. It's not like they have any calories. Like, these frozen strawberries have like maybe 10 calories a piece. The main issue is going to the store and finding them. Because it's like $6.99 a bag for like a 2.5 pound bag. Maybe $8. I can't remember exactly how much it is. But it's a good price. And I had gone there multiple times and I couldn't fucking find them. And I'm like, I need strawberries. Where the hell did I put the lid? Up there, up there, up there. There it is. In the pan. I'm about to make a lot of noise. But yeah, so I've been having some, what's the issue that like could be all-encompassing? Flow-related issues. You know, there's the water pressure issue, and then there's the data-related issue, and definitely a money-related issue. Oh yes, this is over here. About to make some noise. Doesn't take too long, fortunately. So, you know, noise time. white today, in fact. And it's because of all the strawberries, largely. I mean, look at this. It's almost like a dough. All right. That's so tasty, too. You know, one could say, you're just basically getting all your dairy by adding in strawberries. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Whatever works. You know? I don't usually get very hungry after having one of these. And that's generally the thing that I'm actually trying to combat more than anything, is hunger. Hunger is, now that I'm fat, and like significantly fat, hunger is one of my biggest problems. Because I need more calories to stay at homeostasis. You know, a fat person requires more calories per day than a non-fat person. But obviously I'm trying to avoid overconsumption while at the same time trying to avoid overspending as well. Because like, I'm a single man who has ADHD. So that means I need things that can have longevity. That's why I have, you know, cans of beans and shit up here. Like, I'm going to make some rice probably later today as well. Because, you know, one of those cans of beans, I will be using this whole can of beans when I eat this with rice. The entire can. Probably not this one. This one actually will go into my my chili if I ever make any, which I kind of sort of will. But okay, so think of it this way, right? I don't really make chili. I make a marinara, right? I make so I use these diced tomatoes. I use tomato paste. And I use tomato sauce. And I use all three of those. Now, often what I will do is use all three of those times 2 to make my marinara. And I will use this 4-quart bad boy. This will hold all of it. No problem. Done it a lot. And that amount of marinara sauce goes a long fucking way. I think I may not have it anymore. I still have macaroni. So I can make macaroni. Because I'm not really going to deal with spaghetti for the most part. I've got some angel hair that I'll probably use up first. Wherever the fuck I put it. But like, I have to have shelf stable stuff, refrigeration stable stuff. I really do need to eat more fruit. But like, the way that I effectively eat fruit is not by buying it, bringing it home. It's when I'm on my way somewhere and there happens to be some fruit nearby. So like, if this were the case, and it's not, but let's say there was a grocery store very close to where the physical therapist is, all right? It would be a good idea to have like a banana, you know, or a handful of blueberries or whatever before going in there. But my problem is with ADHD, I will become forgetful. I might accidentally push it to the back of the fridge and then forget about it, and then it goes bad in like 3 days. And so that's just lost funds that I could otherwise have, you know, purchased a pound of fucking lentils, you know, which will help me in multiple different fucking ways. I just gotta, you know, get in the mood to do that. You know, I'm still trying to like, it's like one of the things I'm doing is I'm getting back to some of the old but good, the old habits that are good. And also I'm falling into some of my older bad habits and trying to overcome those. So while I overcome those, I have to maintain the good ones. And sometimes that's making bread, which bread ain't the healthiest fucking thing, you know? I mean, my recipe calls for, where's my wheat flour? Where's my wheat? Did I write it on here? Did not. I got my AP flour, I got my bread flour, and I got my wheat flour. Well, my recipe is basically just 700 grams of flour to 500 grams of water, right? But I do 400 AP, 150 of the bread and wheat. That way I get a little bit more of that fiber and a little bit more of that protein, because the bread flour has more protein in it, and wheat flour has more fiber in it. Because AP flour is basically pure carbs, but they're all basically pure carbs too. I mean, AP flour still has protein in it too. But the point is that, like, also when I have a loaf of bread, I eat the whole fucking thing in a day, and that's basically all I eat. That and, like, probably a stick's worth of butter. And so, what I'm trying to accomplish with this is, oh, come on, it's so chunky. It doesn't really need to be blended. It just needs to be mixed a little bit more. Because it starts to kind of sort of separate, but not really. You know, it starts to settle. The heavier stuff settles to the bottom, and then it kind of it separates. Anyway, it takes a little bit of focus, so I'm trying not to pour it all over the fucking countertop. And as many strawberries as I had in here, it's nice and frozen, and so that frozenness makes it thick. But it also makes it harder to just straight up consume all the calories at once. So it sometimes takes me a few hours to consume one of these. I try not to consume it in a couple hours, because it's like, it's a little weird as it sits for a while. I've had it get up to room temp. Stuff starts sticking to the sides, and it's just less appealing. It's not bad for me in that regard. It's just, it becomes less appealing. I gotta get the best. Gotta get the most out of it. I do an actual proper washing of this. You know what? While I'm thinking about it. Oh shit. Got on my shirt. Oh well. They didn't burn women either. It says on here that they didn't burn witches, they burned women. They didn't even burn women, really. But women were the main victims, and it got to the point where basically all you had to do was claim somebody was a witch, and they could get fucked over societally. So I'm gonna do it here real quick. One thing I have needed to do, you may not even be able to hear me say this, but whatever. So, sorry for the lull. I'm taking this and I'm about to go shave my mustache, because I realized that it's just not going to be worth trying to keep growing this fucker out. It just gets in the goddamn way. I'll be back shortly. More noises. Soon to come. Getting there. Let's It's a little close for comfort, but you know, it is what it is. It's a different razor, or it's a different machine, so. Sorry about that noise too. But what happens when you get older, things just don't work the same. But yeah, so trying to change up a lot of stuff right now and maintaining some things, and then hoping that one thing or another works out in my favor, and so on and so forth. It's so thick. I definitely didn't blend it enough. That's part of the problem. That was a pretty decent sized chunk of strawberry. Oh well. But the mustache not being in the way helps. So there's that. Because I mean, like, every fucking day I'm always messing with it. It's getting stuff in it. It's not really growing long enough in the process because of all the bullshit that I'm dealing with. So it's just like, it's just better, I think, to trim it down. It's a little asymmetrical, I guess, compared to everything else, but I'm just not going to worry about that right now. But yeah, this can last me a while. And it's not even like, okay, so the sour cream is about 90 calories. The milk, let's see, not a full cup. We're looking at about, oh fuck, let's see, 120 calories, so that's 210. The heavy cream, that one's probably about 180 calories, so let's just say that's 190 calories. So that puts us at 400, right? And then 170 calories for the Greek yogurt. That's only 570, and then like the strawberries, let's just say that was 50 calories. It probably wasn't. But even if it was, because there's plenty of fiber in there, and that helps to negate that. So that's what, 620? Let's just say 650 calories for all of this. All of that. That's a solid meal. That can last me hours. Now I don't have to worry about it being in my mustache when I do that. Oh man. Yeah, we need to pay people better. That's the real thing. And I need to get my ass on the ground, literally. I start doing these goddamn stretches. Like, I busted my ass on Tuesday though. But I was watching a lot of, I can't remember his damn name. Movement by David. I like his content. I like the fact that he puts up like sources and shit. So I started trying some of the stuff that I was looking at. It's just so good. Like, I don't know how much protein is in this. It's got Greek yogurt in it, which helps. You know, there's protein in sour cream and in milk and in, maybe not so much in heavy cream, but what it doesn't have is a shit ton of carbs. Now, I know carbs are useful, which is why the strawberries are in here. Like, this is basically a protein shake without buying protein powder effectively. It has a significant amount of fiber because strawberries have fiber in them. You know, the health journey has been something that I've always been wanting to try and accomplish, especially once I got out here and I started learning more about it. Once I started learning more about cooking, it's been able to enable my ability to be more healthy. Like, I'm eating less crap. Like, I still have, like, this isn't even all of them, but I still have, you know, peanut M&Ms. But I don't eat them every fucking day. And even if I do, I don't really eat that much of them. When I was living at the shelter, I was eating garbage every goddamn day because we didn't have meals after 10 o'clock. Rather, actually, after 5. So 5 o'clock was our latest meal, so then at that point, you had to fend for yourself. And so, like, I'm sitting here playing games and shit because I can't fucking sleep and there's really no space to fucking do anything on the floor, and I really don't want to be cleaning that floor every goddamn day anyway. I don't like cleaning as it is. And that floor was nasty because, you know, doors were always being open and shit to the outside. And so I'm just like, either in bed or in my chair. In bed or in my chair, whatever, it doesn't matter. So, I wasn't really doing anything healthy. Healthy behaviors do not come easy to me anymore, like when I used to ride my bike all the fucking time. And like, it would have been, you know, to kind of part, you know, to segue, I guess, you know, I mentioned it before in another video, and it's like, if I could go back in time and tell myself what to do to actually make it financially, it would be a mover. You know, like, I already knew how to move and shit, and I already knew how to pack crap. And while I was a skinny little fuck, like, I could have been good at moving things. But I don't know if that would have worked out anyway either, because it wasn't until after puberty hit and I actually looked closer to myself, because when I was a kid I was a skinny motherfucker, and so I don't know if that would have worked anyway, because by the time I started working I was too skinny to take on jobs like that they weren't gonna fucking hire me for shit like that. And then I started driving, and that's when I really started getting lazy. So I don't know. I don't really know. I hate getting sweaty. That's kind of part of it too. So I don't really know. Oh man. But it kind of, and the segue is, this is in relation to a conversation I've been having with somebody online. They're a friend of mine through a mutual online community. And, you know, we've talked multiple times in various forums and all that stuff. And he's talking about how, like, there's all these jobs that are available that people aren't taking. You know, they'll take them and then they're quitting before lunch. And I'm like, if somebody's quitting before lunch on their first fucking day, that means the job sucks. It has nothing to do with the pay. Like, people quit jobs all the time for multiple reasons. One of the main reasons is their management and or work culture. You're not getting Gen Z and Gen Alpha kids to start working in shitty working environments. You need to be better. You need to be more amenable to who they are as humans. And while I didn't say it specifically as that, it's like, because the details that he provides are so minimal. And so there's only so much you can go off of. And that was a thought that I had more recently, not since, after I posted that thing. And it's just like, nobody quits a job working $50 goddamn dollars an hour unless the job sucks. You know, either they, like, if he says, oh, you have to be able to move something that's 100 pounds, you have to be able to move stuff that's like 100 pounds or more, like, do you not have tools that help with that? Like, I get that you still need the human to move it, but, like, what's missing from that equation? Are they literally lifting 100 fucking pounds? Because if they're literally lifting 100 fucking pounds, no, nobody needs to do that. That needs to be done by a machine. And the machine can be a simple machine, like that which, fucking UPS driver has. UPS driver has to lift all kinds of shit all the fucking time. But they have tools to help them. They've got their dolly. And their dollies are fucking kick-ass because it looks like a normal dolly, but then it has a piece that flips out to help carry more stuff. And that piece has to hold quite a bit of weight. I used to work, when I was working as a security guard back in Texas, me and the UPS guy had a great relationship. We'd always talk about shit. I realized a lot of times it was sexist or misogynist, but I didn't realize that then. There were some times we might go overboard or whatever, but like, it's neither here nor there, and I'm not there anymore. But like, there was a cool ass fucking dolly. The man could load up. And so it's just like, there are methods to ensure that the people who are doing their jobs not only can do their jobs, but can do it safely. And so, I mean, like, that's just a lot of things that aren't being passed along because everything is a monologue. Like, even when you're in a forum and there is back and forth, it's still not really a discussion because you're not there. You're not having the one-to-one right then and there. And from the conversations I've heard of him on the Discord, he's less trustworthy than a lot of the people that that we're in line with, because there was he's done his research for COVID. He tries to make it sound like he did the right amount, but he doesn't sound stupid, but he doesn't sound intelligent either. When it comes to how he talks about things, how he discusses things, how he breaks stuff down, it's all very simple. And I don't mean it in like Simple Jack from fucking Tropic Thunder or anything. It feels like it has no real context or subtext behind when he speaks. It's always very superficial, and it's like he tells tons of bad jokes. Like, they're bad. And I'm like, so you're the boss at a small business. I'm starting to see some problems here. I'm starting to see some commonalities that exist elsewhere that I've experienced, that other people have experienced, and then also some of the statements that he's saying. Like, he sounds like a really nice guy, but based on the information he's provided, it sounds like working for him sucks ass. I don't know. And so if that's the case, well, then there you go. But he's not going to paint himself in any kind of way like that. He's going to, because everybody is the hero of their own story. And if you don't got shit to care about other than your small business and your family and trying to feed them and all that kind of shit, then yeah, you're not going to give two shits about the overarching societal structures. But you will when it starts crashing on you. And that's also part of the problem, is that he doesn't seem to care. Like, when we have our discussions, and we have some pretty heated fucking discussions, we're talking politics and all that kind of crap, he's very dismissive when it comes to, like, the nature of the current administration, how, oh yeah, well, people in the past did that. It doesn't specify. And when he does specify, he never really says anybody specific, and he doesn't specify what they did specifically. It's dismissive. And that's very common with the both sides arguments. And some, recollections that I have made I think I said recollections. I think I meant revelations. Or both. But when I used to be a both sideser, I was kind of sitting in a more privileged position. You know, I was making $12 an hour in Texas when the minimum wage was I started when it was 10. When I started, it was 10, and it was like 5 something in Texas, and then the federal minimum wage went up to $7.25 in 2009, and it's stayed there since. So for more than 16 years, it has been $7.25 an hour, which also influences sub-minimum wage, like tax jobs, which shouldn't even be fucking legal, or tipped jobs. And then when the minimum wage went up, they gave me a minimum wage boost. They gave me a wage boost. The company I was working for, but my property management, the people that I was working for at the building, were the ones that fought for it. And then then there was a new property manager or whatever, and that shit didn't happen the next year after that. And then also, then it was like, okay, we're going to move to another company. And I didn't stick with them, and that fucked me over. Because I was dumb. Naive. But I feel like he's in that kind of similar situation. He's naive. He's not based on how, because like, here's the thing. I try my absolute best not to judge people. End of sentence. I try not to judge people. But the more I have heard from him, whether it's when he's actually in dialogue with people, you know, using the voice, and I don't ever talk, I only use text, but mostly because I just wasn't aware if my system could handle it. Now I'm pretty sure it could, and I've just kind of like never fucking said anything. Also, there was one time where I had it open and I was taking a piss. The mic was open for some reason, and I was like, So I think that's the main reason why I haven't fucking been on the mic anymore. At all. That's just embarrassing thinking about it, but anyway. And I've also tried to maintain a mystique, like, is this a man or is it a woman? There are people who know the truth. But what I've heard from him always sounds really shallow and almost pointless. Like when he's telling some kind of anecdote, it's pointless and it's not just that it doesn't specifically have a point, it's also not relevant. It feels like a detraction from whatever other people were talking about, either to pin the attention onto himself, or because he's uncomfortable with it, and so he's got to find a way to talk about something else. What the problem is it's just uncomfortable for everybody. And it's just like, he's a sweet guy, but most of what he says is useless. And when we're having these discussions, like, there are these other people in these discussions who are like I had a big fucking long comment. Like I had to use 2 comments because the Discord limit is like some number of 1,000 characters. And I was in education mode about weather and about how weather information works and how like NOAA should never be defunded and it should always have significant funding, because NOAA is like your water treatment plant in your city. Like if you're connected to the sewer system, you want a water treatment plant. Well, that's NOAA. Like there are weather stations all over the fucking place. And I'm not talking about TV stations. I'm talking about literal physical objects that are out in the wild that have like very specific designs so that wind can blow through them and that they can be properly shaded, but also they're big enough to ensure that there's, no real climate control in them, because you don't want climate control when you're trying to measure weather. You want the best version of climate monitoring. And so on the outside, you'll have an anemometer that spins around like a little motherfucker, and it'll have a vane that will point in the direction that the wind is blowing, not blowing from, but blowing. And you want those things out there because you need the wind measured in that spot. But then also, you want to make sure you have a proper temperature. And so if you have it sticking up in the sun, you're going to have an improper temperature. If you have it sticking in the ground, you're going to have an improper temperature. You want surface temperature, all right? But you don't want it on the ground. You want it a little higher up. And so there's these little sheds that are everywhere, all over the fucking U.S., that are measuring barometric pressure, they're measuring temperature, they're measuring humidity, they're measuring wind speed and direction, and they're passing that information along, often to local weather stations, local weather channels, but also to local NOAA, satellite offices and or processing centers, etc. And so, but it's a whole web. It's not like just it's not a super simple, like, well, this one goes this way and then comes back down that way. It's a giant fucking web of information. And I'm not fully aware of all the details and how it all works. I was hoping to at some point, but then, my career prospects were dashed when I tried to go into the Marines, and they were like, well, you can't do shit because you're colorblind. It's like, fuck you. So I've been just like listing along ever since, because meteorology was the direction I was going ever since I was a kid. I mean, when I was in Texas, during the summer of 2006, 2007, actually, I think it was, because I got the job at the end of 2006, and it wasn't until I was at the next building, in my last building in 2007, that I was so interested in the weather, more so than ever, because it was just fucking raining constantly. So I bought, not this specific book, but I bought this book. And it talks about all kinds of shit in here. It talks about, and this was what I was reading all day when I was at work. This was what I had in hand while it was raining like a motherfucker. And the reason I bought it is because I had always been interested in weather, but also consider, I wasn't able to go in the military, but I was still interested in shit, and it was acting differently than before. So I wanted to know what was up. And that was a significant aid to a lot of the people who were in the building. Like, I didn't know it then, but I was able to inform people of things that were going on to help them understand what they were dealing with. I don't know to what degree, but whatever. If you got to drive home in the rain, you might want to be able to know what to look out for. And I mean, like, look, we're supposed to be getting a heavy thunderstorm. I don't know how bad it's going to get. But if you see this kind of, it's called an Arcus cloud, and it looks kind of like a little wedge, but on the bottom of the cloud. If you see that, don't go that direction, unless you have to. If you do, slow down. And, that was the thing. It was like I would process the information that I could understand from the day. I would listen to the weather reports. I'd read shit on my phone once I got one. Once I had, more information about it and everything. And at the time, I didn't have, like, a smartphone. I didn't have a smartphone until 2010. So I could only read whatever I could read on my flip phone, basically. And then I would learn what I could learn and then process and pass it on. And, what I tried to do as the security officer on the building when talking to people was try to pass on just the right amount of information in a brief period of time. It's like, hey, it's raining as crazy right now. Try to drive careful, try to slow down, turn your lights on, stuff like that. Just basic things to help people get to and from work. That was what I was doing, using it for. It wasn't like I was doing anything super fantastical, grandiose about it or anything, but it was still important. And when we cut shit from NOAA, and the reason I was bringing it up is because, like, we were talking about how he brought up, because, like, he'll do this. He'll bring up, like, the small time stuff, like, oh, man, we're going to have, like, crazy, weather this weekend, and nobody seems to know why. And I'm like, well, talk to the, people who are cutting NOAA funding. And he's like, what, everything's NOAA? And I'm like, basically, yeah. And so I broke it down. But he can't seem to do that with anything. And it was just like, who am I talking to? Because it feels like you're talking to a brick wall. That's kind of what it is. Everything feels like, whenever he follows up with something, it feels like an impediment to what you're trying to say. He doesn't roll with it. And I don't know if that's because he doesn't care, he doesn't know, or he thinks otherwise. But the thing is he's too afraid, I think, to truly put his own opinion out there because my thinking is he's the minority in the group. He's the Trump supporter. But he doesn't want people to know that because we have already made it very apparent that the man in the office is a terrible human, and if you voted for him, you're a terrible person too. And if that's the case, well, then, he can try to always be the Stonewall, because there's nothing good about what that man is, about that fascist 47. There's nothing good about him. And he needs to go. And people like him need to go, and people who like him need to go, and people who voted for him, if they have a brain in their head, if they have the ability to process complex thought, they need to stop and think about why people hate him so much. Because if they don't, and they just keep going along with their choices, they need to go too. Have fun.